Okay, this is my little journal. I got her on Amazon. Pretty cheap. I think it was $12. And it has a little tree of life. It's so beautiful. It's green, one of my favorite colors. So Taurus of me. So Earth sign of me. I hate saying that, but okay, I wanted to read a little journal entry that actually started off as just journaling my thoughts, and then it turned into a poem, and I really like it. Like, there's some things I would change about it, but I'm just gonna keep it how it is. Yeah, here we go. It's called Unveil the Wild Woman. My body needed deep care and attention in the best way. My soul and my body, my physical form, the two came together today and shared a together experience. Intertwined like the vines, imitating the veins, circulating blood throughout me. They held hands and deeply accepted each other unconditionally. With the power of my collective conscious, I found, or, better yet, unveiled myself, like wives do in their ceremonies, unmasking the tame woman and releasing the wild spirit within. So that journal entry that turned into a poem was me talking about a personal health experience that I had yesterday, and it got me a little worried. But then I kind of felt this emotion rise out of me and project itself in a very interesting way. I started crying and I didn't know why I was crying. And it really was my soul being held by my body and them hugging each other almost. Like I said, holding hands and, deeply accepting each other unconditionally. So I need to accept, and I feel like everyone has to, at some point, accept that their body is their temple. Their body is one of the biggest things we have trouble accepting, especially as a woman, a young woman, suffering the beauty standards of society and disconnecting from that and really looking at my body for what it is. What it is it is a physical form where my soul resides and where it lives and where it is meant to be comfortable. My consciousness, I guess, needs to understand that a bit better. And even my subconscious, understanding that my body is uniquely beautiful and that there's going to be weight fluctuations, there's going to be health complications, there's going to be so many things that your body suffers in life. And we have to come to terms with it. And this was kind of a shared experience that I feel like women have gone through. Most women have felt some sort of body dysmorphia or feeling like they need to fit into certain expectations and beauty standards. And this wasn't the case yesterday, but it is something that really resonates with me and that I even have trouble still accepting today. And I probably will have ups and downs, and growth isn't linear, so I will have days where I'm maybe feeling a lot better about my body and my self-image, and days where I feel really insecure and low, and this happens to everyone, and all I have to do is just accept that I am the way I am, and I will love the way I am, and to continue to do work on myself to fully understand, or at least try to understand, parts of me that don't get that much attention. And that was kind of a little, and then I had a little play on words where, better yet unveiled, so a veil, right? And that made me think of a wedding, right? And it made me think of wives and their ceremonies, and I wrote, unmasking the tame woman and releasing the wild spirit within. A lot of us women have a complicated time accepting our wild side. What is the wild side? What is our wild woman? I would really recommend the book Women Who Run with the Wolves. That book is incredibly well articulated and so interesting. It mixes a lot of poetry and psychology and like ancestral history and just lots of different resources and ways of speaking to and reflecting emotions and expressing different concepts. I think it's very interesting. But the wild woman is your most authentic self, where you can just be and you don't have to fit into a standard that society wants you to be, like being that girl or a clean girl or a woman who never cusses or never burps or, you know, whatever. It sounds funny, but it's so real and it's so true. And it's so normalized for men, but then like self-pleasure as well is also a big taboo with women, and sexuality. I think we're getting better now, but just the wild woman is just you being able to experience every pleasure in life and being authentically human and yourself. There's no difference between men and women. We can both be human the same way, or at least in similar ways. We are biologically different, but there are certain stigmas around women being a certain way and then men acting a certain way as well. But it's definitely a lot of pressure on women to act perfect and mysterious and quiet and non-expressive, when that is the core of us. We are emotionally expressive beings, and we should be able to feel okay with being that, and that takes time, and it's definitely a process, but it is possible. And that is something I wanted to share with this poem that I wrote. I think it was connecting me to that wild side, I guess. And then I also wanted to read a little journal entry that I wrote about my mother and about writing, because I feel like that would be an appropriate thing to talk about, since my wild woman comes from my mother, comes from my grandmother, my great-grandmother, all of my ancestors, all of the women that have, the women that came before me are in me, and I have to, not have to, but in some ways I am doing like a tribute to them by being expressively myself and authentic, and unleashing that wild woman in me. That's a big thing for me. And I really get my spirituality from my mother. Like, she's talked so much about her spirituality and how she's so open with it, and I find her very interesting, like her life story and how she views life today after all of the trauma she's experienced. It's very inspiring and very motivating to do work on myself and to do research on my ancestors and different spiritual journeys and stuff like that. So I really wanted to read a little part in here that I wrote, for my mother. I no longer write to impress, I just write. And I find myself really enjoying my journal entries, my poems, whatever it is I'm expressing on paper. But there's a part of me, the many parts of myself, that are deeply connected to my mother, that want to so deeply know what she's thinking of what I write. My mother took English as a major. She's always shown an interest in books and has written many poems. She owns a multitude of different journals, each with their own individual purpose, or sometimes multiple purposes. She writes beautifully, inspired by her collection of good reads displayed on her cared-for bookshelves that sit behind her, and her little office room where she embraces her creative energy that is so connected to her divine feminine, her wild woman, and her curious inner child. My inner child, that belonged to my mother's arms, wants to be seen by her through my writing. She wants to be praised, acknowledged by my mother's traveling writer energy. I wanted to make a little comment on what I just read, and I wrote this. I wrote this about my mother, of course. The woman that gave me life, the woman that inspires me, the woman that moves me in so many different ways, emotionally, spiritually, and even challenges me. And I'm very inspired by her in different ways, but I'm especially inspired particularly for her way of being. And after everything she's been through in life, it is very admirable the way that she carries herself today, which I feel like we either go one way or another. We can either come out of situations that are hard and traumatic and move with them and learn from them, or we come out of it really hurt and not knowing how to express love to others. We come out of it hurt either way, but in one way we can learn, in the other way we might not learn from ourselves and from what happened with us, and I guess for us. That can be a controversial thing to say, because people say, oh, well, this happened to me, not for me. Well, it depends on how you look at it. I'm trying to look at situations in my life that happened that have affected me emotionally and has affected my journey. But it doesn't mean that they have to be negative forever. That is something I'm still trying to sit with. There are certain parts of my trauma that I haven't come to terms with yet. And I very much admire my mother for coming out of her trauma with even more love and even more empathy for others and even for herself. And that's very admirable. And I wanted to say another thing, which was I feel this deep need to almost make my parents proud. I feel like maybe sometimes my parents weren't as expressive as I wished they could be, and I feel like this might be a normal situation where they might say they love you, but you never hear, I'm so proud of you. Or, I'm not saying this is the case for my mother, but it could be where when I was young, I didn't know if I was doing things the right way, and I thought that there was just one right way of doing things, and still today I carry some of that weight with me, where I think that maybe my journal entries, even if they're just for myself, that they're not good enough to be maybe turned into a book, or maybe my poems are too mediocre, or maybe, I don't know, I just have this imposter syndrome embedded in me. I don't know where this comes from, but I'm sure it comes from my childhood and certain parts of my childhood, and maybe not being able to communicate my needs and boundaries correctly, or at least healthily. And yes, I think that we still carry a lot of weight from our childhood. A lot of times our trauma does come from our childhood and something that we've experienced growing up, maybe from, our parents or from close friends, any type of peer, right? And yeah, I really do feel like I still need this praise and acknowledgement from my mother when it comes to my writing, even though she's not physically with me right now. We're in different countries. Still, when I write, I think of her and I think of a friend of mine, but I mostly think of her when I'm writing, because she is an inspiration to me. I got dogs barking. Dogs barking away. But yeah, my mother, this is to you. I love you so much and I miss you, and I am wishing you nothing but good things, and I also am sending love to all of you that are watching my videos and that are connecting with it in some way. And I'm also sending love to those who don't have their parents anymore, who have a hard relationship with their parents, and those who don't know how to navigate their relationship with their parents, or that aren't that close with them. And I also am wishing well to all people with parents and with love in their life. And if you don't have love in your life, I'm sure you can find it, and I'm here, and I love you, and I'm grateful that you're spending a few minutes of your day with me today and allowing my energy into yours. So thank you so much for watching this video. I really appreciate you, and I hope to see you in the next video.